welcome back to the show. I'm Tom Christiano. Well, tonight we have a truly outstanding panel of state and local leaders on the show to talk about a lot of local issues, but also some national issues like the presidential race. And with me tonight we have Laura Merrill. How are you, Laura?
I'm doing very well, Tom. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Your second time on the show, which is great.
I'm glad. So I guess I'm still the newbie in the group.
Still
right?
the newbie in this particular group, but your first time on the show as a selectman, though. Last time you were running
That's
for
right.
selectman.
Yes.
You won a very competitive race last time, right?
Yes, I
This
did.
past April, I guess, was the election day, right?
Yes. So
And here we are in November.
about halfway through the
halfway
year.
through the first year. And so how's it going so far?
It's great. I mean, it's a lot of work and trying to juggle with family and work. It takes up a lot of time, but it's important, and I'm really enjoying getting involved with the town at this level and all the great people that I've been meeting along the way, super residents and the business owners, and how receptive they've been since I've come on board.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad that you're enjoying it so far and doing a great job. I see you at all the town meetings, you know. I sit in front of you at the
I know.
fall town meeting.
And I used to sit in the back of the room, so it's a whole different perspective.
I was going to say, yeah, you were also a town meeting representative for quite a while. I guess you still are
Yes,
a town
I am.
meeting rep, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for being here, Laura.
Thank you for inviting
And we
me.
also have my friend Charlie Wojtas with us again. How are you, Charles?
I'm just great. You know what? I'm the first time here for Board of Appeals.
Right, first time
Previously, it's been
as a Board of Appeals.
planning board or library trustee.
Right, yeah.
So first time for Board of Appeals, so we're kind of both newbies. How's that?
That's pretty good, except this is your 26th time on the show, so not too new.
I don't remember them all.
So we have this gold panelist list, and Charlie's there right on top of the list there with 26 appearances. But
So
tied
what
for
are we going
third.
to do with that?
Well, we'll take everybody out to dinner sometime.
Oh, okay. That means you.
I'll take you out to dinner, yeah. in a
No, you
couple
said
of
everybody.
weeks.
Everybody on the
Well, I
list.
meant just you.
That's not fair.
You and all the beautiful women on this list.
Oh,
Let's
that's
see who
fair
they are. we got to get Janet and Laura on there soon, but Janet has a few more, but we'll get to Janet. Talk to her later. So Charlie's also a town meeting representative for Precinct 9.
9, correct.
Yep.
Yeah, I just changed from 2.
I voted for you because I'm also Precinct 9, so.
I think I voted for you also, so.
Really? Thank you.
It works.
A kind of a quid pro quo we
Yeah.
had going
Do you want me to
there.
change seats so you can sit
No,
next
that's
to each other?
okay. Thank you.
Mutual Appreciation Society.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here, Charles.
It's always fun.
I appreciate it, and we'll hear all about the ZBA and
Yes, we should.
all kinds of things later in the show. And we also have my good friend, State Representative Jim Arciero
Good to
with
see
us.
you,
How are
Tom.
you, Jim?
I'm excellent.
This is
Happy
a
to be on the show.
dozen times on the show with today, the
Oh,
12th appearance.
Goodness, I'm
Which
starting.
is great.
Hopefully, I'm on the second tier show. You know, like the little kids table list. Eventually, I'll get to 18, 19, and maybe
And then
I could,
20. On the
that'd be
20, there's a
fantastic.
space here for
I
you,
know, I
Jim.
appreciate that. It's wonderful.
And so you're doing a great job. How many years have you been a state rep now, Jim?
Well, this is my 4th term, so now I'm on my 7th year.
7th year.
Yeah.
So next year, it'll be 8 years, and then you'll be up for re-election. It's every 2 years,
Every 2
right?
years, it's pretty quick. Goes
Isn't
really
it
fast.
something? All those campaigns every 2 years.
Certainly,
But
yeah. The United
That's
States
what
Congress,
US Congress the
us,
same
yeah,
way,
same
right?
way, yeah.
So you'll be running again next year, I'm sure. I hope, right?
I hope so. Yes,
That's good.
I hope to.
Yeah, so we'll talk all about what's happening at the State House and the bills you're sponsoring. Some of the functions, you do a lot of fundraising for Toys for Tots and things. So
We do, yeah. It's coming on our 5th year this year
Yeah.
for the Sun Santa Toys for Tots, so we're excited about it.
wonderful. And you also have your own show that you do in Westford, right?
I do. I have a show,
Right.
yes. It's I'm going to try to make it a little bit more syndicated now, I think.
Nice.
But certainly I don't have the number of shows you do. You have a kind of a robust schedule. Mine's only about 4 or
schedule.
5 a year. And I
I
think
see,
you do
yeah.
a little bit more than that,
A
right?
little bit more, yeah.
So
Yeah, thanks. And then you can get it on YouTube too. Speaking of syndicated, so it could be seen throughout the world if you want, Jim. Did you get
it's
yours
ambitious. It's
Yeah.
ambitious.
Did you get
I don't
yours
know
on
my
you-
campaign budget will be able to do that, but
Well, you haven't gotten them on YouTube yet, as far as you
I think
know,
they
or-
are. I think they
Oh,
are.
good,
Yeah,
good.
we could
I'll have to look
do
for
some
that.
research and
Yeah.
find out if
I'll
the hits
subscribe
were.
to your channel.
Yeah, I'd
if
like
you
that.
subscribe
That'd be
to mine,
fantastic. I
another
will.
quid pro quo.
I know. Goodness, Charlie's got that down pat.
Yeah. We got to get Charlie, though, on YouTube and Facebook
No, you
and
don't.
everything. Charlie
No, you
doesn't
don't.
like to do that.
It's okay, Charlie.
Not
Yeah.
intentionally, anyway.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here, Jim.
Happy
I
to be
always
here.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we have my good friend Janet Askenburg with us. How are you, Janet?
Good, how are you?
Good. Your lucky 13th time tonight on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Already. And I know you were on the school committee for 3 years, right? Before you ran for selectman. Then you won first time you ran for selectman.
That's right.
And now you're in your 3rd year, I think, as a selectman.
Yes, I
Right?
am.
Great. So we'll talk all about that later on in the show.
Okay.
All the fun you're having and
Yeah,
everything.
absolutely.
Great. And all the
Enjoying
things
it.
you're working on.
Okay, sounds good.
And great. And your husband helps me with the show. Hope you don't mind me mentioning that, do you?
No, I don't mind.
We do a lot of remote shows with your husband, Bill Askenburg. And
Uh-huh.
we did a Robertsfield show a while ago. We did one at the farm fair at the Barrett Byam Homestead. And we're scheduled to do one this Saturday
Oh,
at
okay.
the farmer's market at Agway.
Oh, that's
Hopefully
nice.
I got to give him a call tomorrow or something.
Okay, well, he's home.
Oh, good. Good. So we do those remote shows. He does a great job, though. He works so hard on that. Oh, my
And
God.
he enjoys it a lot. He loves
Oh,
working
good.
with you, and he loves
Good.
volunteering, so thank you.
I didn't upset him yet? No.
No, not yet.
That's amazing. I usually, well, no. Next time, you know what I'm planning to wear at the show we're doing? I bought this new leather cowboy hat. I didn't show it to you
I
yet,
haven't
did-
seen it yet.
Charlie, I didn't show you it.
It
Anyway,
matches his chaps, probably.
Yeah. So we're
Thank
going to
you.
try, it'll be kind of like my trademark, you know?
So you're gonna
Kind of
drive
The
a
leather
horse now?
hat?
The cowboy hat, yeah. It's
Okay.
kind of a baseball kind of hat, you know.
There you go.
Or no hat. And then the reflection would be too bad. I have to do a hat on
Right.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here, Janet.
Thank
It's a lot
you.
of fun. We're going to have a great time talking about all these issues. But the first one isn't a local issue that we'll talk about. I thought we'd talk about the presidential race to begin with. I don't know about everybody watching at home, all of you, thousands of people, but I love the presidential race. I probably spend 20 to 40 hours a week watching all the discussions, all the debates, and reading about it in various newspapers and magazines. I just find it fascinating, but as a citizen, I think it's important for all of us to be informed, right? So anyway, I love talking about these things like the presidential race, and especially this year. When have you ever seen a presidential race as interesting and as kind of eccentric or unusual as this particular year? With some of the new candidates that we have, it's amazing. On the Republican side, is just to remind everybody at home, and we have Donald Trump and Dr. Ben Carson leading in the polls for like the past 4 months, both of whom have never held elective office previously. So that's why this is quite unusual this year. We have Senator Marco Rubio, also from Florida, Senator Carly Fiorina, the former CEO of Hewlett-Packard. We have Senator Ted Cruz, Governor Chris Christie, and Governor John Kasich, and Jeb Bush, former governor of Florida. So that's kind of the main, some of the main candidates. A few of them have dropped out of Republicans and the Democratic, but those are the kind of the ones leading in the polls in the Republicans so far. It's still quite a large field. And then on the Democratic side, we have Hillary Clinton leading in the polls, former Secretary of State, former Senator of New York, former First Lady of the United States. So she has quite a resume. And we also have Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who's doing a great job. Previously, he was a congressman before he was a senator. And we also have Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley from Maryland. I guess he was the mayor of Baltimore prior to being the governor. So, any thoughts on this? We'll just leave it open if we have any kind of discussion. Am I the only one who's going to want to talk about this? I hope not. But any thoughts about it? I know Janet and I talk about it a lot. And Charlie, any thoughts about it? The race thus far, Janet?
I think the one thing I like, I'm going to be voting Republican. Who I'm going to be voting for, in the primary, I'm not sure yet. But I think what's interesting is that Ben Carson and Donald Trump are getting some different people interested in talking out there, good or bad. Certainly, they bring maybe a different audience. Especially I think Donald Trump is, and I think we certainly have a society now that maybe values a little bit more of this celebrity status versus, some actual substance behind it. But if at the end of the day it gets those people a little more interested and they actually start paying attention and getting out and voting, regardless of whether he ends up being the Republican nominee, I think that's good. But you know, I know for myself, I'm very undecided, and I'm certainly keeping an eye on things to see who ends up coming out, you know, with the best ideas.
In fact, tonight is a Republican debate, right? Is it, I think, the fourth one, maybe?
Yeah, at 9 o'clock, I
9
believe.
o'clock
Wisconsin,
tonight,
right?
so
Yeah.
I'll never miss a debate. You probably wouldn't either, would you, Janet? Ever?
I'm actually not going to get home till close till 10. I have something tonight, so I'm going
that's
to
too
miss a
bad.
good part. But
Oh,
I
you
don't
can
know, do
watch
they
it.
have the 2-hour limit again tonight, or is it
Yeah,
gonna,
it's 2-hour debate.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so I'll
On
catch at
Fox.
least the last
so,
hour.
But you could always catch it tomorrow, I'm sure, when you have a chance to catch the repeat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It'll be all over the internet.
And I'm sure it'll
everything.
be entertaining, and there's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of, you know, it's just starting, I think, to get a little more interesting, and hopefully tonight's debate, they actually ask them some really substantive questions. I think they learned from the last debate not to make it so silly. So I'm certainly interested in tuning in. I think Chris Christie got bumped down, too.
He did.
He
yeah.
did.
He's at the
Yeah.
little kids'
Yeah,
table
he
with
is.
you and
He
I.
is.
Which
Put
I
him
think
there.
was unfortunate, because I'm sure you're aware that he had a viral video last week about drug addiction, which was wonderful. So he's gaining in the polls in New Hampshire. And for them to take these national polling and then to eliminate him from the main debate, it really was wrong for Fox to do that.
I don't have a problem with that, because there are a lot of people up there, and you see them constantly cutting each other off and trying to get their points made, and they
Yeah.
have to only give them 10 seconds and another. You know, at some point, you have to narrow the field.
Oh, yeah.
I would narrow it down to probably about 4 or 5 of them
Well,
at this point.
In a way, I kind of agree with that, but here's my strategy of doing it, though. Rather than eliminating Chris Christie, making it look like he's a junior varsity player, I would divide it up into, say, 7 and 7. 7 one night and 7 candidates the next night. So they'll each get more time, or even 5, 5, and 4, or something like that. So they'll each get more time, because this thing with, you're right, with 9 candidates or 10 in a 2-hour debate is crazy. You have hardly any time at all.
Yeah, but the other ones do get their time. It's just earlier in the evening.
Yeah,
right?
but it's always with, you might say, the lesser known candidates or whatever. They
Yeah.
don't get a chance there. So, I mean, Carly Fiorina did happen to rise up
you
from
have
that
to
before.
you have to
but-
earn it. That goes back to that every kid gets a trophy, right? So at some point,
Yeah.
you know, you're either up on that stage or you're not, and that's based on your own ability. So if they didn't earn it, that's too bad. Get to the back. You know, we're not on the big sheet here. We haven't earned it yet. That's okay. I'm fine with that, and I'll earn my
You should
spot.
be a lawyer. You have some good points, Janet. But I know what you're saying. But a lot of it has to do with national name recognition, et cetera. That's why, Donald Trump right away, everybody knew who he was, and Hillary Clinton. Some of the other candidates, it's harder for them. But I understand what you're saying. But I right from the beginning.
They're not connecting, and
Yeah.
they have to figure out why they're not connecting, and people aren't paying attention.
Yeah, like Senator Lindsey Graham isn't even going to be on any of the debates tonight. And he's a United States Senator who's very well known in the defense community and chairs a committee.
Yeah, but that
in the
doesn't
US
mean that people want him for president, and that's the
Well,
message,
yeah,
right?
Well, he's not doing well in the polls.
Exactly.
And so they
he
eliminate-
should not be on the stage.
Yeah, but I would rather see them divided up in like 6 or 7 one night, 6 or 7 another night, that kind of thing. But that's just me.
That is just you. And I see Jim wants to chime in.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, to Janet's point, I think you're absolutely correct, Janet, and that's the fact that, folks that are usually checked out when it comes to politics or not necessarily interested have been more interested in Ben Carson's candidacy and Donald Trump's. But at the same time, certainly I think there's plenty of us, myself included, that watch these debates to see what some of these guys are going to say next.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a big part of it.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that's a piece that I think that folks are interested in too. There are definitely non-traditional sort of politicos that are watching these debates because of the entertainment factor.
Oh, yes.
And
yeah.
there certainly has been.
Yeah. Well, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that, Jim. I'm saying people are watching debates, and if you had less per debate, it would give them more time. So.
Well, but I certainly think that there's going to be kind of some interesting little races within races in the debates tonight. There's going
Yeah.
to be the establishment candidates like Rubio and Jeb going back at it.
Yeah.
Certainly, I think Carson and Trump. I think Trump, has made some comments about Carson in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So there certainly could be some sparks flying there.
Yeah.
And then you look at, Cruz being sort of the outside candidate,
Yeah.
who's looking to get back in and see the smoke clear,
Yeah.
and sort of be that, the outside of Washington candidate next to
Yeah.
a Rubio who seems to be climbing in
Yeah.
the polls now.
Yeah.
Because the Republican establishment is looking for somebody to get behind, because
Yeah.
I think they're scared to death of Trump, and they're scared to death of Carson right now, so they would rather see a Bush or a Rubio move up.
Yes. Or
Or a Christie.
Cruz is a United States senator.
But he plays
you're
the
right,
outside
though.
role. He
Yes,
plays the
he
outside
isn't a
role.
very popular senator from what I understand, because he shuts down the government sometimes or whatever. He does, some people consider crazy
His
things
message is
sometimes,
different,
but
certainly.
yeah, quite different. So
But see, that's what's so interesting is, while I would agree that the Republican Party wants to see one of their own move up, I don't think that's necessarily what the public wants to see, what the normal citizen wants to see, and I think that's why Donald Trump and Ben Carson are rising.
yeah,
It's so different, right? It's
Yeah.
exciting. It's something
Yeah.
completely different from what people are used to.
Yes.
Non-establishment candidates that'll, are not as guarded, and not as prepared or prepped by consultants. And certainly we've known that Donald Trump's pretty much will say anything, right?
And I like that, to tell you the truth. I like that he's
It's
unscripted.
certainly.
I like that he
It's
doesn't give a
interesting.
speech and reading from a teleprompter all the time. I like that he's a good public speaker, I think, in terms of expressing himself and kind of getting 20,000 people in a stadium listening to his every
Right.
word.
But Janet was
I
right,
think-
though. I mean, Janet
Yeah.
was right, and that's the fact that these non-traditional candidates are inspiring people who are not necessarily interested.
Yes, yeah.
So I know there's bugs in here.
Yeah.
What's going on? It's a dry heat. Good. Good.
Any other thoughts, Laura?
Well, I was just thinking about what you said. You spend 20 to 40 hours a week
Yeah.
about the president debate. What
and,
I do,
and national news,
right?
too.
Okay, what I do is listen to BZ in my truck, and they put the good parts of the debates out,
Yeah.
and I just go by that, and they
Yeah.
cuts out all the middlemen. It's great.
So
Yeah.
what do you think?
I'm with you. I'm going to vote for Republican probably,
Yeah.
but I haven't made up my mind.
Yeah, yeah. Nice. You going to watch the debate tonight, Charlie?
Probably not.
Really?
I was thinking, no, probably not.
Yeah, I don't know how people could not watch it, but
'Cause you
who
don't
are
need
who
to
are like
watch
a
it.
political person. But Charlie isn't that much of a political person, right, Charlie?
Just
Or are you?
local. Just
Just
local.
I think they
local, yeah.
replay it on Fox and
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, it'll be all
MSNBC
over the
and
Like I
place.
these
said,
Yeah.
shows
the
over
good
and
parts
over
on
again.
BZ.
Oh,
Yeah,
it'll
you'll
be
get-
all over
you'll
the
see the
internet
highlights.
and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
as they say.
No, it's. I've traditionally voted Democrat, and so this is a very interesting race to watch
Yeah.
as the Republicans try to align themselves with an electable candidate, and that's really what I think this is all about. Is everyone's trying to figure out who's electable, not necessarily who's got the best ideas to run this country.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yeah.
that's
Good point.
that's the unfortunate part of what happens when you start celebritizing the debates.
Yeah. Well, but right now, Donald Trump and Ben Carson are leading in the polls, right? And as Jim said, that's why the Republican establishment is kind of concerned about that, because they've never held public office before.
They
And
don't
they
have the
don't
experience.
kind of know what they might do in office, given that they're so unscripted in many
I think
ways.
I think you're right, but I think it's also about the electability factor when it comes to the
right,
general
yes,
election. They're
yeah.
a little frightened that maybe that wouldn't be a
Right.
classic or traditional candidate, but the Democrats are the same way. I mean, it's all about electability, and
Well,
they're petrified that Bernie Sanders wins a nomination in the establishment of the Democrats, and the same kind of situation loses in the general.
Yes, however, they seem to be coalescing behind Hillary Clinton right now, given the last couple of weeks. She did very well in the last debate. She's had a lot of good public appearances since then, and so she's risen.
Oh,
up
her
in polls.
polls since the Bengonza
A
year,
month
yeah.
ago, she was like losing in Iowa and New Hampshire to Bernie Sanders,
Yeah.
and the Democratic establishment was going crazy because Bernie Sanders is a great guy and has great concern about the poor and the middle class. However, is he electable if he got the nomination? But I think right now it looks like Hillary Clinton's the odds-on favorite to get that nomination, and she is, I think, very electable. Even though it would be the first time we'd have a woman president, I think that would be a great thing if we ever have that. Not just men all the time. But it would be very interesting. What if Donald Trump gets a nomination for the Republicans, Hillary Clinton for the Democrats, Those debates, even Charlie might watch that debate,
I
right,
could
Charlie?
watch that forever.
All right. I mean,
Charlie, you might want to get the internet for that one.
yeah.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, Charlie doesn't do much with the internet,
No,
do you,
nothing.
Charles?
We've had that
Wow.
discussion, yeah.
But wouldn't that be something with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton debating? Oh my God.
Yeah, be very interesting.
It would.
Wow.
It would. It'd be great entertainment.
I wonder if they'd come on this show. No, this show.
You can
probably
invite
not.
them. I don't understand
You
why
should
you couldn't
probably
invite
book
them.
that early.
Yeah.
They would go right to the gold panelist list.
Right. Yeah, they'd have an exception for presidential candidates.
They do.
That's a new rule. Presidential candidates go on the gold
You've had
panels list.
gubernatorial candidates on here before.
I think so, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we have, yeah.
You have.
And lieutenant governor candidates, senator candidates, all kinds of Congress people, Nikki Songas, et cetera. You're a big fan of Nikki Songas, right? But I'm sorry. No. She's going to be at the library Saturday. Did you know that, Jim? Nikki
didn't.
Songas is going to be at the library this
Oh,
Saturday
no, I didn't
from
know
something
that.
like 10 to 11. I posted on the Chelmsford news page yesterday. I don't know if
Is it office hours or
it's
an event?
kind of an event where people could come and talk to her about
Oh, the
issues.
town hall.
Kind of like a
thing?
town hall
Okay.
kind
I
of
think
thing.
she
yeah.
had that a couple weeks ago
Did
in
she?
Lowell or
Right.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm doing a show, as you know, at the farmers market, so unfortunately I can't be there
Oh.
because I'd want to talk to my friend Nikki Songas.
Yeah,
but
that's a shame.
yeah.
Tell her I said hello.
I will. I will. So, anything else about the presidential race before we move
So
on?
who are you liking? Anybody in particular?
No,
No?
being a moderator of a well-viewed show,
Yeah.
I can't give out.
He looked at you when he said, well,
Yeah.
You did something.
You can break
No,
the
I-
rules, can't you?
You know, I could break the rules, I guess, but no, I wouldn't
They're
do
all
that
a little
because.
interesting.
But actually, I haven't decided either on everything. I have an idea which party I'm leaning towards and which party I'll probably vote for in the primary and in November of next year. However, I feel as a moderator of this show, it'd be best for me not to express those thoughts.
Okay.
So, Jim, you have a wonderful bill coming up, which I really like. We have Veterans Day coming up tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
November 11th. I'll be at the Veterans Day service at 11
Yep.
o'clock at the Veterans Park in Chelmsford. We usually get a couple hundred people, but you usually do something at Veterans Day in Westford, is it?
I have
Westford?
Tom Golden and I kind of split our time,
Yeah.
and he does Chelmsford on Veterans Day, and I do the 4th of July, and he
Right.
and I do Veterans Day in Westford.
Nice, nice.
So I have 3 towns. So
Yes, and Littleton as
and
well.
Littleton has an event as well.
You just
tomorrow.
announced something over at Littleton. Your picture was in the paper. Well, I know there's an Eagle Scout there recently. Oh, by the way, is Jim's an Eagle Scout on the show?
I am, yes.
I don't know if the people at home noticed, we have an eagle on the table here today in honor of Jim being Eagle Scout on the show. So
Now, does
Thank you,
the elephant represent Republican Party?
not on this show. The
Okay.
Republic
It's on a different show.
I love elephants. He or she represents environmental concerns.
Okay.
On this show. That way we don't.
Conservative and environmental.
Yeah, conservative environmental
kinda-
concerns.
yeah, looks
I
great.
love elephants though, and eagles.
Well, you've
They're
emailed me
fantastic.
about the Tusk bill. Remember the elephant Tusk
Yes,
bill?
yeah.
So
You have a
course.
good memory. That was a while ago.
Yeah, of
Very
course,
good, Jim.
of course.
Did you hear that, everybody at home? He really listens.
maybe show 13's on its way.
Yeah. So you do a lot in Littleton, we're saying, and Westford and Chelmsford, but you
The Veterans
did
Bill.
you file a bill recently?
I did.
right?
Thank you for asking. Essentially, I filed this legislation in January. We just had its public hearing last week in the Veterans Affairs Committee. And what it does is in 1991, put into statute by the legislature at that time, was to allow for veterans in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to attend college tuition-free. Since that period of time, and in particular over the last 11 years, fees have gone up so dramatically that it's becoming unattainable for certain individuals to go to a state community college or university. So what my legislation does is it complements the post-9/11 GI Bill. So the post-9/11 GI Bill takes a great majority of the burden off of veterans that want to go to college with the fee portion. So tuition is waived, like I said, that started in 1991, but the fees are the 3/4 of the cost to go to state or community college or university. And so what my bill would do would fill in the cracks or any of the gaps that exist right now that the GI Bill doesn't cover for individuals in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that are veterans. And so essentially, if you are a veteran under my legislation, you would be able to go to school for free. Right now, there are people, because of gaps in coverage, that aren't allowed to have the same benefit that others do.
It'll cover the fees in the future, in addition to the tuition,
Does.
right?
So only one other state does this in the
Really?
nation, and that's Wisconsin. And they put it into statute in 2011, and they appropriated about $15 million per year to do that. I think my legislation, it needs to go to the Ways and Means Committee to get a full financial evaluation, and after that time, I'm assuming it would be a little less than 15 million because, again, a great deal of the financial burden is picked up by the GI Bill, which is very, very effective for a lot of the veterans here.
And I assume it doesn't cover room and board, does it, Jim?
It does, and this is essentially fees, which are incredibly difficult for people to use.
I'm sorry, if people are wondering, you know.
I know, because there's mosquitoes flying around.
Something's flying around. I'm sorry,
I know,
Jim.
it's great.
But that's wonderful, Jim,
Yeah.
because one thing I think we need, as Donald Trump says all the time, and I agree with him 100%, we have to treat our veterans much better than they've been treated.
Yeah.
It's terrible. On the national level,
There is some
waiting
cost
all
to it. I
this
mean,
time,
the
but-
Lowell Sun did a great front page story on it, but unfortunately, it was the same day as Marty Meehan and the UMass President's Office kind of going through something with the Senate right now on cuts.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of bad timing, but it wasn't bad timing for me because, you know, again, the bill was filed in January, and the hearing just happened to fall around that same time. But
and what's going to happen next, Jim? I mean,
we just had our hearing. We just had our public hearing in the Veterans Affairs Committee, and I have urged the committee to have a favorable recommendation to the Ways and Means Committee so we can get our arms around some of the costs. It would be irresponsible to you know, try to push this forward without getting the absolute cost of it. So
If you can, yeah. So it will take a while before it goes through the Senate, and then it goes to the governor's desk, right, for signature. That's how a bill works, basically?
Well,
and you have conference committees and everything?
Certainly. There's a whole legislative process behind it,
yeah.
and, you know, a committee stop and then through the House. And certainly there's still, you know, work to be done, but again, there's 6,000 bills filed per year.
6,000?
6,000,
Oh
there's
my
200
God.
legislators. So it certainly is competitive, and every legislator thinks that their bill's a good idea. I certainly think this one is, and I have 60 co-sponsors, including myself, so 59
That's
co-sponsors.
fantastic. Well,
Republican, Democrat, senators,
representatives,
reps.
not senators.
No,
60.
senators too.
Senators
and-
60 combined. Wonderful.
great.
So it's good. It's
I
good
wonder
to
who
move forward.
wouldn't sign that, though, but anyway, I don't know.
Well, there's always, you know, certainly there's always, you know, a little bit of trepidation, especially in the Ways and Means Committee or members of the Ways and Means Committee when there's a cost that you can't get your arm around.
Yeah,
Janet just got attacked by a mosquito while we just talked. So
It just
it just missed you.
Well,
So
well, that's wonderful, Jim, though, especially whatever we could do to help our veterans. And that's one big step, because I think you and I were talking about it recently, that the tuition at UMass, for example, it's like $1,500 a year, something like that.
Yep.
And the fees are more like $10,000, $9,000 or $10,000
yeah,
a year.
Wow.
it's about
Crazy.
3/4
Really?
the cost.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
to it's kind of like, it goes back to that subject of the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship, which was established.
Yeah, right.
I think it was Governor Romney at the time, and it was 2006. And you know, it's, if you are a valid Victorian of your class, you can go to any state school for free. But it's like, okay, the fees are
Tuition.
3/4. It's just tuition.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
tuition.
You know, it's
yeah,
so
so
Nice
it's just-
thought.
I know. If you
But
were
fees is
actually,
crazy,
if you were
yeah.
actually, and we've already run the numbers, there's 5,000 veterans in state, college, or universities right now throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And if we were to pay for all of the fees, it would be $29 million. But a good majority, like I said, a good majority of the financial burden is taken by the GI Bill. So what my bill would do, it would essentially enhance the GI Bill to
Yes.
make sure nobody falls through the cracks.
Well, I certainly hope it passes, Jim. If there's anything I can do, let me know.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Oh, if you want to have people come on the show, or both sides, you ever want to have a debate about it, let me know. But hopefully
We got to
it'll
find
go
somebody who's
through.
against it so far,
Oh,
but
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
you're right. I mean, there's certainly, you know, anytime, you know, we're getting out of a tough recession and things,
Yeah.
you know,
Well-
luckily things are moving in the right direction. But you know,
Yes.
you certainly have to be fiscally prudent about
You
these things.
do on
So-
everything. I agree with that 100%. By the way, the other three of our representatives in Chelmsford, are they in favor of your bill? Did
They all
co-sign
signed on.
with
Yes,
it?
they
Wonderful.
did. And I
That's
believe
great.
Senator Barrett did too. So.
Wonderful. Well, that's great, Jim.
So I
Thank
think we
you.
have most of this region, Greater Lowell, Merrimack Valley. I'm almost
Great.
positive is signed on. So it's almost half.
That's fantastic,
So.
Jim. Wow, thank you. Well, Janet, I was wondering if we could talk to you a little bit about your plans. I guess we have two selectmen up for re-election next year. Matt Hanson, the current chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and yourself, Janet Askenburg, serving in your third year.
Yes.
And here we are in mid-November of the year before. So, Janet, I was wondering if you made up your mind yet or have made a decision whether or not you're going to run for re-election.
I have made up my mind after talking with mostly my family, but also with work, because there are some changes coming along at my work. I have decided not to run for re-election at this time. And I say at this time, I mean, my decision's final. I'm not going to run for re-election in April, but I consider this just a temporary break.
Yes.
I need to focus on some other things. I have some additional opportunities I'm considering, and then I'll get back in at some point.
Oh, well, I'm sad you're not running again, Jack, because you've been working really hard. Maybe in a future show we could talk about all your accomplishments and your
Okay.
first term as a selectman and one term at the school committee. And I know you really push hard for what you believe in, and you got through a lot, I think, in your first term.
Well, we have as a board.
As a board,
I don't
yeah.
think anything I've done is individual. So I think this board, before Laura got on, I've been very lucky to serve with now my third board, and very much enjoyed it.
Yes.
But I still have a couple things I'm going to bring forward and hope to get accomplished before next April.
Yes. Yeah.
And but like I said, it's a great group. And I include the town manager along with that.
Yeah.
So looking forward to working on some additional things.
Yes, yeah. And as I said, you worked very hard on this. I know how serious you take it, and
I do.
You really, and I'm amazed because you have a very important full-time job. You're a partner in Ryan, is it called? Ryan? I always call it. Janet, should I tell them that story
Sure.
about the answering machine? Janet, if you call up Janet's number, it says, I always thought it said, hello, this is Janet Askenburg O'Brien.
And he thought that was like my maiden name or
I
something.
thought it was like a maiden
Hyphen
name,
or
a
something.
married
Yeah.
name. So I
For
leave
years.
a message, I'd say, hi, Janet Askenburg O'Brien, right? So for years I was doing that. Then I just learned last week at the town meeting, whatever, that it's Janet Askenburg of Ryan,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, so that's how I'll remember your company name now, never forget that.
Yeah.
So you're a partner with the company though, by the way, and I
Yep.
know you do a lot of traveling with that.
I
to
do a lot of
Texas,
travel
New
and-
York, Chicago, and
I've traveled around the country, and a lot more of that is coming. My youngest son, Trace, he's a sophomore at high school now. I'm trying to, get him through high school and off to college. And so, again, just some competing priorities, and, this is just what I need to focus on at this time.
Yes.
But I certainly intend to stay very involved in politics and with the town, with volunteering, just in maybe some different ways.
yeah, in fact, you're very involved with the Republican Town Committee, right?
Yes.
And I know I heard you and Paul Cohen gave a nice talk about our town meeting warrant articles at the last Republican Town Committee meeting. You did a great job.
That went
in
over
equality.
really well, and
Yeah.
then that was mostly the town manager doing that. And I think that was very helpful because people understood more about the town, not only the warrant articles, but I think they really understood the challenges that the town manager has in trying to balance everything. Because
Yes.
everybody says, why can't we have this? Why can't we have our trash picked up? And because we're not getting enough funding from the state, we're having to prioritize, and people understand now the challenges he's going through and can understand that a little better. And I had mentioned at the last Selectman meeting that I think he should attend more meetings, not just the Republican Town Committee, but, talk to, I'm sorry, you're watching that fly, but he should talk to other groups in town.
Yes. No, I agree if he could find
Sorry.
the time, but yeah, he spends a lot of time. In fact, I just saw, a video of the school committee meeting last night, and Paul Cohen was there in the beginning of the meeting. So, he works tremendously hard, and I think he's doing a great job fiscally for us, and So Janet, thank you very much for letting everybody know, because I think it's as I might have written to you in an email, I think it's a nice thing to do if we announce things early like this.
Yeah.
So if
I
somebody's
think
new-
it's very considerate.
Considerate,
You know, and
yeah,
that's what
you'll-
I'm certainly trying to
yes.
do is, you know, whether I was running or not, I certainly want people to know, especially if I'm not running.
Yeah.
That's at least one seat that's definitely going to be open.
Yes.
I'm sure Matt will be announcing soon. And people really need to think about it and take the time.
Yes.
I know Laura contacted me very early on, and you know, before she pulled papers, and said, you know, I'm a mother and I work and I'm not sure, and you know, I think it's just been wonderful that she's joined the board, and I certainly hope that a lot of people out there, even if you haven't held office before, even if you haven't been a town meeting rep, I strongly encourage you, you know, certainly anybody can certainly call me. My number's out there, 978-764-8037 is my cell phone. Please call me if you have any questions. I highly encourage people to run. It's a great group to work with, and it's great to work with the town manager.
Great, thank you so much, Janet. Well, it'd be wonderful, but we'll still ask you on the show many times. Like, you're going to be very involved, I think. With
You're
the
not going to be
Republic-
my friend anymore, are
Yeah, I really want the
Your
people in power.
Facebook will be
Yeah.
unfriended and get back.
So, no, with the Republican Town Committee, and you and I, we've had many political discussions, I think, over the years.
Oh,
and,
yeah, absolutely.
I know it's really interesting because you're very interested in politics, which is I am. You know, I love
Absolutely.
politics, and because I think it's very important. It's not just a hobby or something to have fun with. In a democracy, I think it's incumbent upon the citizens to be well informed. Now, not everybody is, and that's their choice, and that's fine. But I think if we had everybody fully informed on all these issues, we'd have a better democracy with better people in office rather than people who might not be doing the best job.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to pay attention to everything. But thank you, Janet.
Thank
and,
you.
You mentioned Laura. Maybe we could talk to Laura about the selectmen. So I know you said you like it so far, right? It's been about 6 months as a selectman. And do you get many calls or emails, Laura, about the issues?
It depends on what the issues are. It's amazing how many issues nobody calls at all, and that kind of speaks to where you say that most people aren't getting involved. I think that on an average, a lot of people in the town are just at home raising their families or going to work, and they're not really interested in the major issues. But once you get something that's a little controversial, that phone just starts ringing off the hook.
Yes, you had one recently, didn't you? An issue that got more calls than anything, I think.
It was the regional call center.
Oh,
The
yeah.
regional
That
call
was-
center,
yeah,
and that's what,
that was we got a
for
lot of
911
emails.
calls, just to let people at home
That's
know.
right. Whether
mean,
to regionalize it or to continue with the Chelmsford model.
And I'm glad, I could state that opinion, that I'm glad you went the way you did, the voting to keep it here locally, here in Chelmsford, rather than regionalizing it. What was it, a 3-2 vote, or 4-1 vote, or
4-1.
4-1 maybe?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was
Yeah,
4-1.
only Matt voted for it, right? The regionalization, I
Right.
believe.
Right,
Matt, yeah.
and he was very involved with
Yeah, he
the
was very involved
project
with-
for the
yeah.
years, so I can understand his support of it. But it was just, it came down to there wasn't enough concrete information.
Yeah.
We were still getting details at the last minute, and I have to say that almost all the calls and emails that I received from residents were emphatically no, they did not want this
Yeah.
change.
And I'm so glad that's the way it went. It seemed like the way things were going, the local people were doing a great job. They were monitoring what's going on in Chelmsford. They could send people out, seemed quickly. They knew the streets better. Even though a lot of the employees would have been retained, they would have been working in Tewksbury, I believe. It just would have changed quite a bit. Plus, we'd be adding a layer of bureaucracy and more personnel for no good reason, I could feel. And they said, oh, the state's going to give us this grants, but what if they stopped giving the grants after a couple of years or something, right? I'm sure,
Right,
I
it
mean,
was
you
a
probably
big
considered all
concern.
of that.
That was a big concern
Because I know
as well.
you're a
There was-
fiscal conservative, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
and there didn't seem to be any cost savings, although over and over it was stated that when it comes to safety, we will spare no costs.
Yeah,
Yes, and that is...
But we do have to do things prudently, though, like Jim talks
obviously.
about. You know, we have a limited budget, even for veterans or anybody. You just can't spend money willy-nilly or just not for a good purpose, it seems to me. Every tax dollar needs to be spent efficiently, right, Jim?
I think so.
But
yeah.
spent,
I think-
every tax dollar
I
must
look
be
at it.
spent.
So anyway, hopefully it'll stay that way in the 911 call center would go well. So everything's going well, Laura, and
Yeah.
I think you're doing a great job. I'm
Well,
glad,
thank you.
glad you ran, and
I think she's doing an excellent job.
Yeah.
Really do. She comes very well prepared, and she asks questions that even the presenters are like, "Whoa, that was a pretty deep question," and I think that's just very helpful to the entire board when somebody comes that well prepared.
yes, yeah.
Brings a
Thank
whole
you.
different perspective. And I remember when you were running, you had said that that would be my strength, is because that's what I do for a living. Is I'll analyze situations and look at both sides, and she certainly does that.
Yes. I know I watch you guys a lot on your Board of Selectmen meetings. You post them on the so you can't miss that.
We need more presidential debates, I think.
Yeah. Well, Charles, I wondered if we could talk to you about the Zoning Board of
Charles,
Appeals.
yeah.
You're a full member of the Zoning Board of Appeals now?
I was just looking, and I'm not. I'm still an alternate.
No.
Yeah.
I think I checked.
They messed it up.
It's technicality.
Oh,
Yeah,
just
it's
on
a
the form,
technicality.
technicality.
Well, what
yeah,
happens is zoning board. A lot of members have conflicts, so I'm usually a voting member
but you
wherever
were
I go. So
you were supposedly appointed as a full member
I
a
know,
few
but
months
I'm
ago,
not,
though, right?
I'm not. That was a mistake. It was definitely a mistake.
Really?
But that aside,
Yeah.
what would you like to know?
Well, what's happening with the Zoning Board of Appeals, Charles?
Well, you wanted to ask about the 40B.
And the 40B,
40B.
There's-
The good news in my mind, the 40B, is that we're at 8.5%. We only have about 150 more units to do, and then we'll have 10%, and then we
Oh,
can
10% of
just say
affordable,
no to
yeah.
every 40B
yeah,
out there.
yeah. 10%
And
affordable, right? Just to let the
10
people at home.
We're at
But
8.5%
So-called
right
affordable.
now.
Yeah.
Called affordable. So
8.5%, yeah.
you want to know about River Neck
Well-
Road.
Yeah. Well,
River Neck Road, the one by Lowell, is not a 40B.
Okay.
Okay. River Neck Road, across from the cemeteries, is a 40B, and the reason why it's not being built is there's some kind of conflict with money.
okay.
So they're having debates of what to do. And the big 40B, the 108 units on Mill Road, is going to be built as soon as they get funding. I guess the funding stream is not that great, and they're having a hard time getting funding.
Really?
But it will be started as soon as they get some money.
So the developers have mentioned this, that they've
Yes,
been trying to get
the
the
108
funding?
on Mill Road will be
Yeah.
built. The 5 units on River Neck
River
Road
Neck Road, yeah.
may not be built.
Yeah, yeah.
That may go the way of the
So
wayside.
there's, on Mill Road, there's 108 units on
Yes.
approximately 5 acres of
I
land?
believe it's 5. It might be
What's
less.
going
It might be less.
So, but there's also some other land nearby there, right?
Correct. Fuchs land, yes.
Now, are they planning to
They
build any
wanna sell
additional
it.
units?
They want to sell it.
They want to sell the
For
land
a 40B.
for a 40B.
Yes.
So another person might want to sell this property maybe for a potential 40B,
Well, it's a free
But-
country. You can do whatever you want.
especially
still,
with
I hope.
40Bs, right? But
Whoa, no.
Oh.
You can't, no. I voted against that one.
yeah, I know you.
I was like
yeah,
the only
yeah.
one that voted against that one.
On the ZBA, right?
Because I didn't believe that hill was too dangerous.
Yeah.
It was near the industrial park. The kids had no place to play. I
Yeah.
mean, I just
Yeah.
couldn't understand it.
I agree with you, Charles. Yeah,
So
I
I
was
had
very
to
much
say
against
no to that
but-
one. But of course, it did get approved. And the reason it got approved at 108, because they were going to wait a couple months and come back and get 120. So the rest of the board figured that was a good plan. They
Yeah.
should go with the 108.
Yeah.
So that's where it ended.
Yes. So we'll see if they get their financing, right, in the
Yeah,
next few
yeah.
months or
Hopefully
something.
they don't.
Yeah, hopefully they won't get it.
Yeah.
Because the neighbors and everybody, a lot of people in Chelmsford didn't want this development there.
exactly.
But with 40Bs, as everyone knows, they're very difficult to stop. The only
Correct.
board that they go for with any power in the town is the Zoning Board of Appeals.
And
That's
we
why-
can't stop it.
And you can't
If you're
really
not
stop
at
it if,
10%,
right.
you cannot. Well, you can try to stop it.
You could try, but
it'll go
very
to the
often you won't
state,
succeed.
And
Yeah.
most of the time, it'll get approved.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
will.
So it's really quite a situation. But we only have a few minutes left. And Jim, every year you have this wonderful Toys for Tots program, right?
I do, yeah.
In Westford, you're holding it again this year?
At the Franco-American Club on December 3rd. and it's the 5th year I've done it, and it's open not just to my district, but to anyone who would like to come and participate. I work with the Lowell Sun. We partner up, and the United States Marine Corps, who has the Toys for Tots program. So we ask that when you come on December 3rd at 6 p.m. that you bring an unwrapped gift or a $25 to the Sun Santa Fund.
Nice.
Last year we did great. We raised about $16,000 for the Sun Santa Fund, and we had something very comparable to that in toys. So it was about $30,000 total.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
So it was great.
Huh,
It was
Jen?
great. And I know that hopefully the governor, he got an invitation, the lieutenant governor got an invitation. I know the state treasurer, Deb Goldberg, is going to stop by. A number of folks from the area. I know my colleagues in the area are going to be stopping by. So it's a good time.
nice.
And you've
Oh,
come a
wonderful.
bunch of times?
Yeah,
so-
sometimes, bunch of times.
So
And it's a huge crowd, and that's fantastic what you're doing, Jim. And everybody
great
who's
cause.
participating and contributing.
It's a great
For
cause.
all the children who may not have many gifts.
WCAP comes on too,
Yeah.
so if anyone wants to come and pitch
Oh,
their
yeah,
business
yeah, I see. Yeah.
or talk a little bit about why the event's important, it's great.
And we'll post it on the Chelmsford News, as you know, many times.
Sure.
And if people haven't joined yet, please join the Chelmsford News page on Facebook. It's a page that lets people know what's going on in town, and it's free. And there's over 2,600 members in the first 4 months. So it's growing very rapidly, which is good. But people seem to like it, right, Janet? Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yeah.
Good. Jim, do you like it?
I do like it,
Good,
yes.
good. I
where I get-
hyperlink you too, Jim.
I know you do,
Sometimes
I know,
I
believe
ask
me.
Jim a question or Janet.
I've learned my lesson not to like what you post very, very quickly, or I feel the wrath. The wrath of the Godfather.
You don't. You mean if you?
If I
you
don't like it,
yes,
right,
yeah,
you let me
right,
know
right,
I didn't
yeah.
like it yet.
Right, right.
Coming.
But anyway, it's a good page. Chelmsford News, it's called. Very simple, Chelmsford News. But on the few minutes we have left, Janet talked about Selectman, and we also have Matt Hansen, who's up for re-election this year. Has anybody heard of anybody who's thinking about running? There's rumors around that Matt might not be running for re-election as well this year, so we might have 2 open seats in Chelmsford. Has anybody heard of anybody else who might be running for Selectman?
Marino? He
I
might
think
run
school
again.
committee is what he
Oh,
mentioned.
school
I don't know if
committee,
he's planning to
right,
keep with that,
you're
but.
right.
And on school committee, Evelyn Thorne and Barbara Scott are up for re-election, so we'll see how that goes. But on Selectman first, you haven't heard from anybody, Lord? Nobody
No.
called you about that, asking?
No.
Okay. Well, Charlie, you
Oh,
probably
my
heard.
sister
Yeah,
Pat
your sister
will
Pat.
definitely run. I'll put her pitch in right now because she can't stay away from it.
Yeah, and she
You know.
loves it, basically, right? She loves
Exactly.
being a selectman, so that's fantastic. So, I have heard of Pat's name. Let's see. I don't think I've heard of anybody. Says Pat Maloney made up, or Joe Reddy, or anybody decided
heard a
anything?
word.
No, because I know they've run, so maybe they might run. I don't know.
I think it'd be really good, and Pat and I have spoken, but if there are 2 seats, or even if there's just the 1 seat, I certainly hope that a lot more people that, who haven't run before will come out and take a shot.
I hope so.
Yeah, also for school committee. Again,
Yeah.
there's appointments, there's still open committees, or open seats on committees, and I would really encourage people to either run for an office, run for town meeting rep, or put in an application for a committee.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And anybody else other than Louis Marino on school committee? Any other people that you might have heard?
I don't want to say their name, but I've heard
Okay,
at least
you've
of 1 or 2 people
Good, great.
that are thinking of running for school committee, and possible 2 other for Board of Selectmen.
Great. And on the planning board, I checked the list this morning. It looks like Henry Parley is up for re-election and Ed Rue. So I don't know if either of them or both are running again. But has anybody heard anything about the planning board, or people who might run if there's an
Not at
open
all.
seat or not? But
I haven't heard
no, I
anything.
haven't heard. Well, hopefully it'll be an interesting election this year, though we usually have interesting elections in Chelmsford, right, Jim?
You absolutely
I think
do.
so. We have really good political things going on in Chelmsford, right?
Yeah, it's very
Don't we?
spirited usually.
Very spirited,
Chelmsford
nice.
election and politics in Chelmsford are very spirited.
Yeah. And speaking of politics, you're going to be running again next year, I think you might have mentioned. So in July, you're going to be marching in the...
I will,
and
yeah.
usually you get like 50 or 70
I
supporters.
had a family
maybe?
commitment. I was visiting my mother in North Carolina during July 4th this year, so it was the first time I missed the July 4th parade. in Chelmsford, though I haven't marched in the July 4th parade in 7 years. I think 7 4th of July parades I marched in straight.
Well, yeah,
And
with a
4th of
huge
July.
crowd.
Yeah,
That's
it was
fantastic,
great. It was
Jim.
great, but I'll be back in force this year, so it took 1 year off.
Nice. And you like being a state rep so far, and any thoughts about running for state senate or Congress yet?
Not at the moment, no.
Not at the moment,
No,
yeah.
I love my job. I love what I do, and there's a lot of work to do. So
Who's your
pretty
state
focused on
senator?
it.
Is it Eileen?
I have three
Donahue?
actually. I have Eileen Donahue.
Oh, and
She
each-
represents Westford
Westford,
and
yeah.
the city of Lowell, and then 4 other communities.
Yeah.
And Jamie Eldridge, who represents Littleton with me,
Yeah.
and then Mike Barrett, who represents Chelmsford with me.
Chelmsford,
So
yeah.
I have
Yeah.
3 senators.
But if you were to run, you have to live in that precinct, right? So that would be Eileen Donahue,
It would be Eileen Donahue.
Because
So
you
I'm-
live in, I guess, Westford.
I do.
think, yeah.
That's true.
Sorry. So Eileen Donahue, but do you have any idea how
Her
long she
district
might serve?
is-
She's a wonderful person, by the way.
Her district is the city of Lowell. It's Westford, Pepperell, Tingsboro, Dunstable, Groton. I think I got them all.
Wow.
Yeah.
But she's doing very well, right? She likes
is.
being
No,
a state
her and I
senator.
are
She-
great partners in Westford.
Yeah.
She's a very professional person, very smart person, and I've learned a lot from her in the,
Yeah.
in the like 4 years that we've worked together. She's great.
And you like politics, though, right, Jim?
I
Because
do, yes. I like
Because you've
politics.
been in it now. You've done great. Did you hold an office before you became
I never
state
did. No,
representative?
I did
Wow,
not. I
that's
worked.
amazing.
I worked in the Senate Ways and Means Committee, so I like numbers, and
Yeah,
worked there for about 5
Oh,
years
that's
before I
right.
ran.
Yeah, you kind of
I was
knew
a
a lot
legislative
about.
director. Yeah.
And remember the first debate we had with Charlie's sister, Pat Wojtas, on this show? I don't know if you saw that.
That was my
Janet,
first time
but-
on your show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. And I love the way you go through things. Number 1, number 2.
That's how I think.
Number 3.
I think in terms of.
Yeah, it was very well
bullet points, I
organized
think,
and everything.
sometimes.
So first you won in that primary. You ran against Pat in the primary,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you defeated someone in the general election. Who was it?
It was
that
Paul
first year?
Paul Avella from Littleton.
Oh, yes, yeah. He
Oh,
was
I
pretty
remember
well
that
known.
race.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Paul Avella, and then Paul ran in 2010, and then he dropped out at the very last kind of moment before the papers were due.
Yeah, wow.
And,
But just every 2 years you do get
I
somebody
have
running as a Republican.
2012 Valerie
Uh,
Rommel, no primary, and 2014 Dennis Galvin.
Yeah. So we have no idea who might be running in 2016, right, for the
I
Republicans
have no idea.
whatever, but,
Yeah.
or independents.
I haven't heard
I haven't
But-
heard.
Oh.
anything.
Do you deal with Governor Baker much? How do you think he's doing? By
I think
the
he's
way?
doing a great job.
Great,
I think
yeah.
he's doing a great job. I mean, he showed the ability to work across the aisle, get things
Yeah.
done. He's prioritizing, obviously our economic situation here in the Commonwealth, but he's getting his arms around the opioid crisis.
Yes, I was gonna
and-
mention that,
and-
yes.
and working with a lot of diverse groups to get the proper funding for that bill.
Isn't
So-
it amazing what's going on with that opioid, the drug crisis, right? And Charlie Baker is working with his lieutenant governor.
And I give the
Karen.
lieutenant governor a tremendous amount of credit. I mean, Karen Polito has been everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere across the Commonwealth. You look on social media, you look in the Lowell Sun, she's here probably in
Yeah,
Lowell.
I
I
see
feel
a
like every other
picture, yeah.
week.
I know,
So they've
yeah.
done a great job of getting out there and really cooperating and working well.
Yes, wonderful. So does everybody else think the governor's doing a good job? And the
I just have
lieutenant?
a quick question. The transportation bill, the
Oh.
$5 million for our funding. Have you heard anything on that?
I haven't right now. Right now, the focus has been really on with the Baker administration bill on the opioid issue, and certainly I know we're going to continue to have those discussions. I know
Yeah,
that there's
we
been a bunch of
we got-
proposals in the transportation committee. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much,
Oh, yeah.
Jim.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura,
Thank you.
Mayor, for being
Tom.
on the show. Thank you very much, Charlie Wojtas. Janet Askenburg,
you.
congratulations on all of your service so far. And
Thank you.
I'm sure you're going to do great things in the future as well, as you always have.
I'll try.
Thanks. And thank you, our wonderful crew. We have Tom, we have Meredith, and we have Larry, our great camera crew, and our great director, Pete Padula. Thanks for watching the show. If you have any comments, send me an email at tchristiano@comcast.net. And please join the Chelmsford News Group if you haven't already. And I hope to see you at the Farmers Market on Saturday. If you want to be on TV, I'd maybe interview you a little bit there on Saturday at Agway. And hopefully I'll see you at Veterans Day at the Memorial Park tomorrow, November 11th at 11 o'clock. I'm Tom Christiano. Ciao. Right, see you.